We live in an era defined by a very specific kind of mechanical arrogance. We look at our towering skyscrapers, our satellite arrays orbiting the planet, and our diamond-tipped precision instruments, and we feel a sense of absolute security. We are taught that human history is a slow, agonizing crawl from the cave to the computer. But 13,000 feet up in the freezing thin air of the Bolivian Andes, there is a glitch in that narrative. A physical, undeniable error in the story of humanity that no mainstream historian can explain away with a straight face. History is not the objective truth you were taught in school. It is a carefully curated series of accepted lies, a story designed to keep us comfortable in our current timeline. But sometimes the physical world leaves behind a piece of evidence so defiant that it threatens to dismantle everything we thought we knew about our ancestors. At 13,000 feet above sea level, in the thin, oxygen-depleted air of the Andes, lies a field of stones. To the untrained tourist, it's just rubble, but to a forensic engineer, it's a high-stakes crime scene. This is Puma Punku, a place where single slabs of stone weigh 131 tons, a place where volcanic rock, harder than steel, is cut with the precision of a modern CNC laser. We are told by experts that 6th century primitives built this with nothing but stone hammers and llama-skin ropes. But today, we move past those fairy tales. We are going to look at the data points that the textbooks ignore. We are going to examine why the engineering here is not just impressive, but physically impossible for the time period assigned to it. Using the latest forensic archaeology and 3D reconstructions, we are going to expose the machining scandal that has been hidden in plain sight for centuries. Please just wrap in, because the stones are about to speak. To truly grasp the scale of this engineering scandal, you have to understand the environment. We are at the Tiwanaku complex near La Paz, Bolivia. At 12,470 feet, you are literally walking in the clouds. The air is so thin it starves your muscles of oxygen. The sun is so brutal it cracks leather. This is the Altiplano, a barren wasteland where survival is a daily struggle. For the local Aymara and Quechua people, this isn't just an archaeological site, it is the gate of the Puma. Inca traditions tell a chilling and specific story. They didn't claim to build this place. In fact, when the Incas first arrived in the 1400s, Tiwanaku was already ancient. They believed it was the literal birthplace of the world, the exact spot where their creator god, Viracocha, manifested humanity. They claimed the gods didn't just build it, they called it into existence with sound and vibration. This isn't just a colorful myth, it's a cultural memory of a technology we no longer understand. When the Spanish chroniclers like Bernabé Cobo arrived in the 16th century, they saw architecture that defied every known law of physics of their time. Cobo reported seeing massive gateways and windows still standing, structures so perfect they looked like they were poured from a single mold. He was mesmerized by the smooth surfaces and the way stones interlocked without a visible gap. But here is the first red flag history ignores. At its peak, Puma Punku wasn't a dusty ruin, it was a futuristic citadel. Imagine walls adorned with polished metal plaques that glowed like gold under the sun. Imagine a society where the elite wore exotic jewelry and priests performed mind-altering rituals using hallucinogenic substances. This was a high-sensory, high-tech experience. But beneath the ceremonies and the gold lay a foundation of engineering that, quite simply, should not exist. The physical evidence suggests that Tiwanaku was not a starting point of civilization, but the remnants of one that had already reached its zenith. In the world of construction, weight is the ultimate truth. Gravity doesn't care about your academic degrees. On the eastern edge of Puma Punku sits the Plataforma Litica, a stone terrace that holds the largest single slab in the entire site. It's 26 feet long and 17 feet wide, and it weighs a staggering 131 tons. Let's pause and think about that number. 131 tons is 262,000 pounds. That is the weight of roughly 70 full-sized SUVs concentrated into one piece of rock. The stone is red sandstone. Its quarry? 10 kilometers away across some of the most brutal mountain terrain on the planet. And that was the easy part. The smaller, more decorative blocks are made of andesite. This volcanic rock is hard that today we require diamond-tipped saws to make a clean cut. Its quarry was 90 kilometers away, across the deep, freezing waters of Lake Titicaca. Officially, we are asked to believe that these people used llama-skin ropes and inclined ramps. Let's apply some professional logic here. If you try to pull 131 tons with llama-skin, the rope snaps like thread. If you use wooden rollers, the sheer pressure turns the wood into sawdust instantly. Moving such a load up a mountain range is a massive engineering feat. The friction alone would generate enough heat to scorch the earth. If they didn't have machines, then what force did they use? We're looking at a lost method of heavy lifting that has been systematically erased from our memory. Did they use acoustic levitation? Did they possess mechanical tools that have simply rusted away? The lack of tools in the archaeological record isn't proof of primitive methods, it's proof of a massive gap in our understanding. This is the point where the primitive Stone Age theory falls apart completely. Enter the H blocks. These are the most iconic symbols of Puma Punku, and they are an engineering nightmare for historians. Carved from solid andesite, these blocks feature interior 90-degree angles so sharp and deep that they are mathematically impossible to produce with hammer stones or copper chisels. Architectural historians Jean-Pierre Protzen and Stella Nair spent decades analyzing these stones. In their 1997 study, they were forced to admit that the techniques used here were unknown to the Incas and to us at this time. Look at the surface finish. It is perfectly planar. Look at the drill holes, 6-millimeter blind holes executed with uniform depth and spacing across dozens of different blocks. In modern manufacturing, we call this mass production. Each H block is interchangeable. They were designed to fit together like a 1,500-year-old modular construction kit to form load-bearing joints without a drop of mortar. This is the work of a factory. You don't get this level of uniformity by hand carving. You get it by machining. Even more shocking are the miniature gateways. Archaeologists found stone models that are perfect scale-reduced replicas of the massive gates. You only prototype something when you're using an assembly line where every part must be identical. This site wasn't built, it was manufactured. The H blocks are essentially prefabricated components. The question isn't how long did it take, but what kind of machines were they using? The forbidden tech isn't just in the stones, it's in the alchemical secrets hidden within the joints. To lock these massive walls against Andean earthquakes, the builders used eye-shaped architectural cramps. But these weren't just hammered into the stone, they were cast in place. Forensic analysis shows they melted a complex alloy of copper, arsenic, and nickel bronze and poured it, molten, directly into stone sockets. Think about the chemistry required here. You have to melt these metals at over 1,000 degrees Celsius in a high-altitude, oxygen-poor environment. This requires a level of metallurgy that shouldn't have existed for another 1,000 years. And here's the kicker. This exact same eye cramp technique is mirrored in ancient Egypt and Greece. How did civilizations separated by oceans share the same proprietary engineering standard? It suggests a global manual. It suggests that there was once a unified, advanced era of human history, a golden age that possessed a universal standard for construction. In 2016, a drone survey revealed that the site is 10 times larger than the area currently excavated. There are platforms still buried underground. Why has the excavation stopped? What is buried there that the scientific establishment is afraid to acknowledge? At its peak, between 700 AD and 1000 AD, Puma Punku was the heart of the Andean world. It was a functioning city with advanced irrigation and leak-proof stone sewage lines. Then, in 1000 AD, it all stopped. The production line went silent. The builders literally dropped their tools and walked away from a city that was clearly still under construction. A severe drought is the common explanation, but it fails to explain the unfinished nature of the site. If you're leaving because of a drought, you pack your tools, but at Puma Punku, it looks like they were in the middle of a work shift and were forced to leave in an instant. Why abandon a massive technological investment so suddenly? Where are the tools? If they had the technology to move 131-ton blocks, where did the machines go? Some researchers believe the site was a machine of stone, a structure whose true purpose we simply cannot fathom. Was it a temple or a functioning power plant? Was it a portal? The H-blocks look like resonant chambers. Could they have been using sound as energy? The sudden abandonment suggests that whatever power this site possessed, it either failed or was no longer needed. They didn't just leave, they vanished. Mainstream archaeology dates Puma Punku to 1,500 years based on organic soil samples, but any engineer will tell you, you cannot date a stone by the dirt underneath it. You can only date the dirt. The late Arthur Poznansky, who spent 50 years at the site, used archaeoastroeconomy to align the temple with the stars. He found that the solstice alignments only make sense if the sky looked the way it did in 15,000 BC.
If he is right, Puma Punku is 14,000 years old. It is a relic from a lost epoch, a time before the last ice age when humanity possessed technology we are only now rediscovering. This fits with the global cataclysm theory, the idea that 12,000 years ago, a massive comet impact wiped out an advanced human civilization. Puma Punku isn't just a pile of rocks, it's a message carved in andesite that says your past was more high-tech than your present. So the next time you look at a modern skyscraper, remember the H-blocks of Bolivia. Because in the thin air of the Andes, the stones are still waiting for us to admit the truth. History is a narrative, but the stones are the truth. We aren't the first ones here. We're just the latest ones to forget who came before us. If you value evidence over comfortable lies, join our community. Subscribe and help us uncover the truth about our forgotten past. Because the tools may be gone, but the evidence remains. It is time we stopped looking at these stones as ruins and start looking at them as a blueprint for what we once were.